Did Lucasfilm really think that the insertion of 2 major cameos in the Acolyte Episode 8/finale would really change the minds of all the critics out there that really had a lot of problems, and rightfully so, about the first 7 episodes thoroughly, one after the other, is just beyond, of course, ridiculous. Now, insertion of Darth Plagueis, Yoda, it didn't change a thing for me, it didn't change a thing for a lot of other critics out there, and when you look at the actual cameos, you can tell that they're very cheap cameos. They are there for seconds. They don't even serve a true purpose to the story. If anything, it makes the story worse, especially in Yoda's case. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So, we know that Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland, they've been in endless damage control and double down mode over the current status of Star Wars, right? They want to say there's no agenda here, but they do support diversity, equity, and inclusion at the same exact time. That's what they're all about. They are all about lying to the audience, lying to newcomers as well, to trick them into becoming the new audience, essentially. That's what they want to do. They want to create more what I like to call Disney Star Wars fans that really just like the utter garbage coming out by Lucasfilm, such as the Acolyte. They want to create a new era of fans that enjoy things thoroughly that was done by Leslye Headland, about ripping apart George Lucas's vision, and also about stripping down the philosophy of what Star Wars really is all about. Now, moving on from all of this, what's interesting has a lot more to do with Kathleen Kennedy, yet again, going into damage control mode and double down mode over the Acolyte Episode 8/finale. Let's get into this. Now, with the Acolyte finale now out on Disney Plus and already creating more backlash from fans that Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy are currently trying to control, one major development now has more to do with Kathleen Kennedy and what she had to deliver after the failure of the Acolyte Episode 8. Now, Kennedy stated the following: "Our support for women and their significance has never been greater here at Lucasfilm, and we have created a great example of that with the Acolyte, where our #1 priority was by supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion. A great example of how we supported that was by our usage of LGBTQ talents and some of the characters that Leslye had created. The criticism that we have received here at Lucasfilm is not only unfair, but it is also irresponsible from the Star Wars community and our core customer base that makes up so many fans. But that leads to one problem. You will always deal with a loud minority of fans that come from a specific demographic that believe the only way to achieve the Star Wars magic is by George. My goal with Leslye was to part ways from Lucas's way of storytelling and to create something new from the ground up that would bend the rules and to shift away from that burden. I think looking back at the criticism that we received with the finale, which was completely unfair and blown out of proportion, is that, like Leslye said, fans just don't truly understand at the heart what Star Wars stands for. Looking ahead, Star Wars serves as the perfect pathway to support DEI and also bringing in the LGBTQ community in many ways to reach a wider, more global audience. If you are claiming that this has anything to do with an agenda at all, that is part of the problem by so many loud fans really trying to create a message. I think women in this day and age in the film industry are put in a position where they are wrongfully labeled various things, all because they obtain powerful roles in franchises or brands as big as Star Wars in this example. I would also like to address the fact that we have so many loud voices that seemingly are attempting to change the minds of fans that are just trying to enjoy the experience. Looking back at the finale, we had so many great moments. We even had that moment which really matched up or was even better than the I am your father moment. We finally learn that the twins are the same person. Now guys, let me just stop here once. Now, what's interesting about that is the fact that she is comparing the fact that Osha and May are the same person through the vergence of the Force is anywhere near close to the I am your father moment. Are you kidding me? Now, when you look at The Empire Strikes Back, there are 2 reasons why that moment was like lightning in a bottle. In fact, it was lightning in a bottle. You can never recreate that type of shock in the audience. Number 1, nobody expected that coming. Nobody expected any kind of a twist and or turn back in the actual release of The Empire Strikes Back. Number 2, it was so perfectly orchestrated by George Lucas, so perfectly laid out. Even George kept it secret from the cast and the crew, nobody really knew about the actual twist, so it worked ways all around for the audience and people working on the film. The shock, the way it was told, and everything else from the fact that nobody expected it coming is exactly what made it so magical. And when you try to create that lightning in a bottle again, it just doesn't work. The attempt at making Osha and May and their twist becoming as big as The Empire Strikes Back is just ludicrous, and I think it was nothing more than a marketing move by Leslye to kind of keep fans afloat, to kind of keep them clinging to seeing the finale of The Acolyte. And it really just, backfired on them. It really sounded like that they really made all these false promises, right? And we all saw this coming. I mean, nobody really believed that this was going to be better than The Empire Strikes Back, did they? I certainly didn't. But moving on forward, she goes on to conclude, something that no fan saw coming in a franchise like this. Leslye and I really wanted to make that clear, that this episode that we had to alter with George had endorsed in many of the older books, with some of the characters that we brought back and introduced in the finale. And I think any criticism that we are getting now, and will continue to get further down the road, is nothing more than a reaction to a message that Star Wars has to be done through George's way, which is untrue. We are all about creating characters that promote DEI and support the LGBTQ community, and are going to see a lot of that in Charmin's movie. So I don't know if you guys know what she's talking about when she talks about in Charmin's movie. She is alluding to Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, alright, the director of the upcoming Rey Skywalker movie, and yes, they will be calling her Rey Skywalker in this upcoming disaster for 2027. The reason why I say 2027 is that it is most certainly not coming out in 26 now, because filming is no longer happening in 2024, let alone in the first quarter of 2025. And at the same exact time, we know that there's a lot of problems going on right now with the production of that film, but once again, here you have Kathleen Kennedy saying that our support for DEI, LGBTQ, over proper storytelling, over proper character development, is not an agenda at all. There's no agenda here. This is all about reaching out to a wider, more global audience. That's what she is basically throwing out there to the general public. And I think that's their argument all the time. They always say it's all about reaching out to a wider, more global audience, that is not an agenda. Well, it is an agenda when you are looking at that over any kind of storytelling. This is exactly why I always like to say that Lucasfilm, especially one of the most failed divisions over at the Walt Disney Company, they are all about ideology over art. In fact, I think that they are the worst, case in Disney's, case here of what Bob Iger has been doing, what he's been looking over, is the fact that you have Lucasfilm really doubling down, tripling down on this ideology that they have to look at LGBTQ, DEI, etc., all that nonsense over storytelling, over character development, and a very good executed story. So overall, guys, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.